Welcome to Eye on Oakland. I'm Chuck Moss, your host. We have a great guest here, one of our favorite people, Tom Kuhn, who I formerly served as county commissioner with, who is now state representative from the 57th District. Welcome to the show, Representative.
Oh, thanks, Chuck. I appreciate being here and having the opportunity to say what's going on up in Lansing.
Well, it's an opportunity, one way or the other. But so, question is, first of all, where's the 57th District?
The 57th District is the east side of Troy, the west side of Sterling Heights, and a precinct in Madison Heights.
Okay, Oakland. And what committees are you on up in Lansing?
Well, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and I'm Minority Vice Chair of the Appropriations Subcommittee on community colleges and higher ed. I'm also on the Health and Human Services Subcommittee, which is, as you know, one of the biggest budgets in Lansing.
Yeah, it's one of the big four, and higher ed is definitely another one. So good. Well, that puts you right in with the budget. So we'll do the hardball question. What's going on in Lansing?
Well, what's going on in Lansing? I hate to say what's going on in Lansing. I mean, honestly, from my perspective, transparency in our state government remains my highest priority. I've sponsored and co-sponsored several bills to increase openness and transparency in our appropriations process. We finished the budget in June, but billions and billions of dollars were spent on things of which the public and the vast majority of the House members had no notice and no knowledge.
Would these be the what we used to call the supplemental appropriations, where you got a budget, you pass it, and then to make a change in it, you have a supplemental or a negative supplemental. Supplemental is adding and subtracting stuff, so as they say, it's a living document. Is that what you're talking about?
No, actually, I'm talking about the actual budgets for this fiscal year starting October 1st. Again, it was an $82 billion budget, but billions and billions of it came to us while we're sitting on the House floor without having any opportunity to look at it. And billions were, monies that no one had seen previously, other than apparently a select few who came up with the numbers.
What are they spending it on?
Well, what are they spending it on? It's mostly on special interest projects. And again, it's a big problem up there. I mean, we want to spend money on high priorities, but it seems to be that it's only partisan priorities that matter. And so, yeah, I mean, we've seen all the reports from different news media on how little transparent this budget process was, even compared to prior budget processes. So, but openness and transparency go beyond just holding the state government accountable for its spending. It extends to some very important substantive issues like criminal justice as well. For example, just last Thursday, we as House members were given a 20-bill package that radically undermines our police and prosecutors.
How does it do? Okay, so tell me, how criminal justice. Look, you're an attorney, you're a lawyer, you've practiced, and you go up to Lansing, which is probably who we want making laws, or people who understand how laws work. What laws have been passed? How do they undermine or would undermine public safety?
Well, for example, last Thursday we were asked to vote on 20-bill package immediately, the same day they were put on the agenda. So how do they? I mean, one example, a couple of the bills that they laid before us last Thursday would expand public spending to support criminal defendants by hundreds of millions of dollars each year. This is at a time when our police and prosecutors are woefully underfunded. Chuck, I don't know if you caught the speech by Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan last week. He said one of his highest priorities is to increase the number of police officers so that they can deter and prevent crime, not just respond to them. Did you catch the news article that our prosecutor's office are half-filled or severely understaffed? One county, they had to close down the prosecutor's office.
Well, now Mike Duggan, of course, is a Democrat. I mean, look, the Democrats, you got they got the trifecta. They run the governor, both houses of the legislature. I mean, here's Mike Duggan, who is maybe after the governor the most powerful and certainly visible Democrat in the state. Is the Detroit delegation maybe saying this isn't a great thing?
Well, again, Mayor Duggan went up to Lansing last week, and in his speech, he indicated he was shocked to see that the Democratic caucus was hamstrung by a radical clique, many of them suburban Democratic legislators who are only interested in their radical agenda, not bipartisanship, not public safety, not good policy, not working for the best interest of our citizens.
Yeah, Tom, he said that? Duggan said that.
He said that.
Amazing. Duggan would come out and lambaste the Democrats, his own Democratic Party, not just calling the Republicans a bunch of idiots. I mean, look, that's expected. How so? More money for what? Criminal defense? What?
Well, again, let's put it this way. Mayor Duggan said the dysfunction in Lansing was every bit as bad as the dysfunction in Washington. But the problem is it's getting little to no publicity or press coverage. We need to have, if you're going to add hundreds of millions of dollars for criminal defense, we need to provide the same funding for our prosecutors and for our police. I met a couple months ago with the Michigan State Prosecutors Association. They had the same problem. They're being blindsided by legislation. Frequently, legislation dramatically affecting our public safety is introduced and passed before the prosecutors even get notice of it and an opportunity to respond with their views and perspectives.
What's their angle? I got a question. What's their angle? I mean, we've seen on the West Coast, whether it's LA, San Francisco, where I just was, I lived there it's awful. Portland, Seattle, out in New York, we've seen where these soft on crime, we'll call them that, reforms lead. They lead to dramatic increases in crime and fall in the quality of life. What's the angle? Why would the clique, as it were, the people who are driving, who number one, who's driving this, and what's their end game?
Well, I'm not privy to what their end game is, Chuck, honestly, but what we're seeing is a large number of bills being dumped on us that impact public safety, that impact the length of time criminals are in jail. We have a package called productivity credits, which basically go after truth in sentencing, something that our citizens voted for and made part of our state laws. They don't want criminals to serve their minimum time. So we have that, and we have juvenile justice and juvenile lifer. There's just a slew of these massive packages that seem to be canned. Whether they come from the West Coast, they come from God knows where they come from, but they're already canned, they're ready to go, and they're dumped on us at the last second, and they don't give the legislators, they don't give the public, they don't give the prosecutors, they don't give the police time to even respond to them.
Okay, you say canned. In other words, these are not these bills that are becoming laws are not things that are arising, what's the organically, whatever, naturally, from legislators who say, I think it's a great idea, let's bring it in and make it happen. You're getting finished products like a model criminal code being handed to you, made by who? I find that to be interesting and quite disturbing.
Yeah.
It's being pushed by some national group.
Yeah, I don't know what group it is. They're not talking to me, but it's I had one discussion with one Republican legislator who had joined about 10 or 15 other Democratic legislatures in some legislation on speedy trials. And I said, hey, we have uh, we've had speedy trials. They're part of the U.S. Constitution. There's established case law for the last 50 years. Why do we want a new bill that says criminals who have committed horrible crimes are automatically let out if they don't have a trial within an X amount of time? Why don't we continue with the rational balancing that has been established by the courts? And the only response was, "Oh, I'll have to talk to the lobbyist about that."
Oh, talk to the lobbyist. What question? Okay, well, in other words, follow the money. Is this the trial lawyers behind this? I mean, if I were a defense lawyer, I would love to have the playing field artificially lowered in my favor, certainly.
Well, again, I can't tell you who's behind it because they're not talking to me. But obviously, there's some lobbyists and some groups that are pushing this, and it's unfortunate that they're not giving sufficient time for full debate and public discussion of these issues because they dramatically impact public safety.
Now that's an old trick. Are they keeping like late nights and calls to the house? Call the house is when they won't let you go, and they don't want to keep you there because they think if they keep you all night, you'll agree to whatever it is they want. Well, it's stupid. Nobody's going to do that. But have you had any like all-nighters yet?
No all-nighters. I mean, we are often sitting there as they're rounding up the required 56 votes, and sometimes that takes hours and hours and hours, and we're just sitting there waiting for it. But again, for me, it's much more important that we get this information about the bills early so that we're able, and important groups like the Sheriff's Association and our sheriff, and Sheriff Bouchard's a great sheriff in Oakland County, and our prosecutors are given sufficient time to respond to these proposals.
Well, I would think that, crossing the aisles, you've got the Wayne County Sheriff and you've got the guys in Macomb, who I believe is a Democrat. They don't want to see this, their towns turn into San Francisco. We know that Detroit has held the line against that. I would think, have you ever talked to some of the Detroit reps or anything about where are you guys on this?
Yeah, again, part of the problem, Chuck, is I'm on appropriations, and again, we don't get much information ahead of time. It's all jammed down our throats, and that's why I'm talking about openness and transparency, because we get these bills at the last second. I mean, I tried, and for example, we met with our school superintendents today, and they were talking about all these bills that are coming down. But what happens is we get them the day they're supposed to come before the House for a vote, and it's great for me that the Troy superintendent, Rich Macheski, is I send him, I say, whoa, we just got this bill at the last second, and they want to pass it today. How does this impact Troy schools? And he responds right away, but we're not. That's so much of the legislation is coming like that, and we need to have it so that the groups that are impacted by it, whether it's the prosecutors, whether it's the schools, whether it's the police, have a chance to respond to it and provide us with information, and the public has a chance to learn what these bills are about.
Well, dumping it on it without any notice, you can't. You said you can't discuss. We're going to have to take a break right here. We'll come back with Tom Kuhn, state representative from the 57th district, and what's going on in Lansing. And it doesn't sound so good, but knowledge is power. So don't go away. We'll be right back here on Eye on Oakland. Welcome welcome back to Eye on Oakland. We're talking to Tom Kuhn, state representative from the 57th District, which is about half of it's Oakland, the other half into Macomb. So you've got Troy, Madison Heights, big part of Oakland County. And we were talking about criminal justice. We're talking about bills that are coming in that just seem to make no sense after the experiment we've seen on the West Coast. But I'd like to shift off. I know that one of your areas of concentration is economic development. So what's going on with economic development? I mean, we like jobs, we like development. What's going on?
Well, it depends if you're in Lansing or you're elsewhere in the state, because the governor goes around the state saying she supports economic development, but we're not seeing that in Lansing. For example, we had a $5 million appropriation for the Defense Center. Defense is important, particularly with issues where we have transformation of industries like the automotive industry. We have an opportunity with all our engineering and all our capability and our skills to move into the defense industry. For years under Rick Snyder, we had a defense center. It was located in Sterling Heights, and it helps focus the attention of all right across the board to get important contracts for our defense industry here in Southeast Michigan, which is a big industry. So we had this $5 million appropriation, which actually I moved initially because it wasn't in the House budget, but it was eventually put in. And but what happens? It goes up to MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation.
Yeah,
economic development, right? You're familiar with them. Yeah. Well, in any case, MEDC sends out job applications for people to be the executive director of the Defense Center. We have some very, very qualified people who have applied to that, people who really would help promote our defense and aerospace industry here in Southeast Michigan. And then just heard a couple weeks ago that MEDC has decided, no, we're not going to have a defense center in Sterling Heights. No, we're not going to have an executive director. We're going to just handle it through MEDC. So, and that's very concerning because it's extremely important area. We need to have someone in charge, and they need to have a location where they can bring the focus of these important aerospace and defense dollars to our companies and to our employees and to the people who live here in Southeast Michigan.
Now, when you say Sterling Heights, let's be frank here. The Sterling Heights is the Sterling Heights, the tank plant that was, they built all the tanks for World War II. And then afterward, that's where they built the M1 Abrams. They still do a ton of, vehicular and armor stuff. They build for the Army. The Sterling Heights location is one of the world's biggest defense producers. So you say Sterling Heights, that's, not just because it's there. This is major Defense Department asset. MEDC is bureaucracy. They want to control everything. I have a question. Economic development. Are they just giving tax money and tax breaks to favored businesses, or are they? Is this all just the distribution of pork? It was under Granholm. Is it that way now?
Well, we obviously have concerns about spending billions and billions for battery plants that have no accountability.
Wait a minute, battery plant. Let's use the let's say it costs me a spade here. We're talking about battery plants that are owned by the People's Republic of China.
Right, they're owned by a communist Chinese.
By our biggest geopolitical adversary right now, the Russians. I'm talking about the PRC. So, we're giving them money to build a battery plant.
Yeah, and again, I mean, part of it is this. We have this great automotive industry here, and it seems like the goal isn't to make the state better for business, for economic development, but to think that, oh, well, if we throw away enough billions and billions of dollars, this is going to create economic development. That doesn't create economic development, as you know.
Well, I have a question. I don't know what her strategy is. We knew what Granholm's strategy was. She liked renewables and wind energy and all that. As it turns out, her own personal portfolio was became quite enriched with that stuff. And now she's Secretary of Energy. Aren't we lucky? So regulating those same industries. So I have a question. Is there any objective standard of measurement to show success other than just, I gave X amount of money, hooray? Is there, we have a baseline of something we can show you that we got something for that money?
Well, yeah. I mean, I asked that very question of Quentin Messer and MEDC, and I've yet to hear a response. I don't believe they do, honestly. And we've seen what they've said publicly. Well, we're going to have X number of people getting paid X amount of dollars at this battery plant. To me, that's not really a valid parameter.
Well, it's one battery plant. I mean, you say we have an industrial policy. That was Jennifer Granholm's thing, is industrial policy. Well, the government industrial policy has a spotty reputation in history, but at least we knew what she was going for. I mean, what is it? Is it like marijuana? Is it, she the abortion capital? I mean, what is she trying to do? Or is she just taking tax money and giving it to her buddies?
Well, I mean, certainly she's giving tax dollars to her buddies. That seems to be the common thing up in Lansing, right across the board. But as far as a rational policy, I can't understand why you wouldn't emphasize, things like the economic development of the defense industry, which is extremely important, and the automotive industry. But
betting big on renewables, probably. Now, I can't help myself, because when it comes to Lansing, I got to ask questions about budget. That's just, kind of what I did. So I got a question. The governor is a big, big, big spender. What is it? $82 billion. That's a lot. That's way more than I remember. So where's she getting all this money? I mean, is it all just ARPA money or all that? Where's all the money coming from to spend? Or isn't there any?
Well, the state bounced back fantastically from COVID, and as a result, there was a massive budget surplus, $9 billion. But, within the first couple months of our being in office earlier this year, that $9 billion was already spent. And, $82 billion is, it leaves no room for, for the future. And a huge issue is the sustainability of many of these expenditures. They're not sustainable because they aren't looking at that. They're looking at the big splash, the big news release, the new big hoopla that, they get when they say, oh, I have this new program.
Are they costing it out? Like saying, gee, this program will cost, let's pick a number, $10 million. It's going to be $10 million today. Next year, it might be 11. It might be 12 all along. This is what it will cost for the next 5 years. This is where the funding will come from. Are they doing anything like that?
Well, Chuck, and I know that that's not how the state government works.
Well,
it should.
It can. I'll just put it that way. Yes, actually, it can.
It can, and it should.
When you demand it, because I'm sure you do, because that's what they do in Oakland County. What do they say? Oh, we got what do they tell you when they say, how much is this going to cost all in? Do they have an answer, or do they just laugh? Again,
there's no response to. I mean, the issue of sustainability of these programs has been brought up again and again and again when they came in with their $82 million budget. Are these programs sustainable? And the answer is no.
No, are they putting away a rainy day fund of any kind?
Well, again, they had 82 million. They had 82 billion. I'm sorry, and had 9 billion surplus, and they took away from the rainy day fund. So, what can you say?
Okay, so no, there is no rainy day, no rainy day funding. So now, just another question: the UAW strike. It's still going on as of this taping. Maybe they'll solve it tonight. Maybe they won't solve it for a couple of months. Are you seeing up in Lansing any kind of fall off in state budget or state revenue from that?
They haven't come out with any recent projections since the strike started. The revenues were down at the last projection considerably, but I suspect, given the amount of time that the strike has been going and may continue to go, that we'll see a significant downturn in revenue.
I can only imagine. I mean, that they're not working. The car companies aren't making a profit. The people who work are laid off or they're on strike, and that just spirals. That's a very bad spiral. So I just wonder are they looking to tomorrow, or do they just figure we'll spend money and we'll be happy today? I don't know. What is their end game, or don't they have any, or don't they care because they're not being transparent about it?
Again, Chuck, I can't tell you what their end game is. I mean, it seems a lot of it is just partisan politics. But for me, government, the way to deal with this problem is always with openness and transparency. We need to have the opportunity for public discussion and debate about appropriations, about substantive laws that dramatically impact our state and our communities.
Well, I've always found as if people are hiding something, it's generally because they have something to hide. They would be trumpeting it if they weren't. So I'm just going to ask you, we get very, very quick question now. Detroit's been doing a pretty good job. Can the Detroiters keep that going?
Again, they have a great mayor in Mayor Duggan. He's focused on providing public safety. He's focused on helping communities and neighborhoods and promoting economic development.
Well, I can't argue with success. Hopefully, some of the more rational people can talk to the more rational people on the Democrat side. That would be bipartisanship. Wouldn't that be amazing? Great talking to you. Tom Kuhn, State Representative, 57th District. When they start ordering the pizzas and keeping you all night, then you got to worry.
And we'll call you, Chuck.
Put the pepper on. Take the pepperoni. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you for joining us here on Eye on Oakland.